Alrighty. Hi, I'm Al. This is feeling very presidential up here. Thank you for being here, for taking the time to listen to us. I'm going to talk, it's probably going to be fairly brief, fairly informal, slightly impromptu. I'm not saying I haven't prepared, but we'll go through and do a little bit. I basically want to talk about Pinterest, kind of what our role is in the world, what we're trying to build, and what the creative potential and possibilities are. Before I jump in, this is me. If you want to follow along, that's my Pinterest profile. I work on a team called The Studio, and we do creative on the platform, working with our agencies and our brand partners, and really trying to figure out what does great advertising look like on Pinterest. We haven't necessarily figured it out. We're still very much learning and working as we go. So it's not necessarily we're going to have the answers here, but having worked at Pinterest now for a year, I think there's a really unique and interesting creative opportunity on the platform. And I'll talk a little bit about kind of how we see it, what we're building, how we're building something that I think is quite unique in the world, and how that opens up opportunities creatively for people. So before we start, just a quick show of hands about who uses Pinterest personally. Nice, okay, we've got a warm crowd, I like this. Quick show of hands, who uses Pinterest professionally in your work, in your day-to-day work? Okay, fantastic. And a quick show of hands of the people that have done ad campaigns on Pinterest. The people from Pinterest, that doesn't count. And that's essentially, I guess, kind of why we're here. If you use the platform yourselves, if you use it in your work, it's such a great tool for creative people. And we kind of go around the world and we talk to designers and filmmakers and creative directors, and they love the platform and using the platform in their work. But I think kind of we're at a stage is trying to understand kind of how can we also kind of look at it as an opportunity, because it plays such an important role in people's lives, to build our brand campaigns and put our brand messages in this space in a way that really kind of adds something unique and adds some value to people's lives. So one of the stories that we came across, partly through Evan, the co-founder of Pinterest. His friend is a writer in Hollywood, and the Duffer Brothers were using Pinterest as they were coming up with their project for Stranger Things. So the guys were kind of, before they obviously kind of released the show and went on to be a big success, they kind of conceived it using Pinterest, creating boards, creating kind of inspiration from various kind of cultural references, bringing them together. And if you watch the show, you can see how it very much is like an amalgamation of reference material from the 80s, from Stephen King, from all the different elements, from the storyline, the story arcs, through to the set design, through to the treatment that they gave the title sequences. And so, again, they did all this through private boards on the platform, but lots of creatives are using the platform to kind of come up with ideas, curate inspiration, and from that spark something new and create something. And so we think there's a great potential opportunity here, and what we're kind of, I guess, here to do and talk about is kind of bridging that gap from using it personally and in our work to actually kind of how can this provide an opportunity creatively for brands and our clients and our partners in our day-to-day work as well. Before we kind of dig in a little bit about Pinterest and what makes it unique, because we kind of really believe it is unique, the challenge we sometimes have is that it gets grouped with social media. It's an app, it's on your phone, people spend time on it. And this isn't meant to be controversial, it's a little bit controversial. But my friend Luke, who's a creative, he wrote this presentation about 6 or 7 years ago around why social media is shit. And so, don't get me wrong, I love social media, I'm addicted to it, I'm addicted to my phone. I've spent 7 years working at Instagram and Facebook and kind of helping, I guess, build those ad platforms and kind of those businesses, and I love the shit out of it, I do. But I sometimes feel like the potential of the internet, the potential of our phones, the potential of kind of what it promises hasn't fully materialized in the way that we maybe would have liked and would have hoped. And sometimes the utility has kind of given way a little bit to other things, and has kind of led us to situations like this, which I'm sure we all know about. Situations like this, which I'm sure we all know about. Situations like this. And I was going to add another slide in here, but I didn't. And I've been talking about it a lot recently for some reason. But like, I don't know if you guys know the film WALL-E, the Disney movie, where the guys, like the big fat guys, are like on their hover chairs, driving around, having their big gulps, and they've got the screens in front of them, and just like mindlessly consuming. And I worry that a lot of our time on our phones and on the internet and in these apps is kind of shifting from the original purpose and utility of them, which may have been a way to express yourself, or a way to connect with people, or whatever, to mindless consumption, just purely consuming media. And I'm totally guilty of it. I spend my whole time like doing this. And so I think the promise of Pinterest, and we're not perfect, a lot of time is spent doing this, but what we're trying to build is something quite different. Not sure what's next. So when I think about how these apps play a role in my life, I always start here. I always pull out my phone. This is a screenshot of my mobile phone. I'm slightly OCD and arrange things in kind of boxes at the top, but I have my go-to apps at the bottom, the ones I'm kind of spending time and kind of into and consuming. And they all play a very different role in my life. And kind of what we're spending a lot of time doing at Pinterest is trying to really understand, what role does Pinterest play in people's lives? How is it different from these other apps? Why are people going there? And there's a few different ways to think about it. Partly is people come to Pinterest to look for inspiration and ideas of things that they want to go and do. It's things you want to do. It's personal. You don't come to necessarily broadcast. You come to find ideas for stuff you want to go and execute, stuff you want to go and do, whether that's your projects you're working on professionally or in your own life, whether you're planning a trip or a project or whatever it might be you're into. Whereas most of those other apps are kind of like about what's happening in the moment, which is fantastic, or what's happening in the past. Pinterest is kind of, we get grouped into the kind of bucket social media, but you don't go to Pinterest to see what your friends are doing. Like, you go there for personal reasons, and it's more like personal media than social media. So with that in mind, kind of like, why do I go to Pinterest? What do I do there? It's kind of more about personal, it's more about positive, it's about kind of me, not necessarily what I'm trying to express to the world and broadcast to the world, but like things that I actually personally care about. And I don't really care if anyone else knows about it or not. It's about stuff I want to do, less about expressing a version of myself out to the world. It's about doing, not broadcasting. So we're really focused right now on like, we're great at finding inspiration, but we want to help people go and do that inspiration. So kind of how can we kind of get people kind of to actually put their phone down? Like, we actually want people to kind of put their phone down and get off their phones and go and do stuff in the real world. That's kind of our mission. That's what we're trying to do, and it's kind of what we're trying to get better at enabling people to do and building tools that help people do that. And Ben, our founder, talks about, our co-founder talks about kind of time well spent versus time spent. Like, we don't want to just consume eyeballs and like just have more time, so we can then just tax it with ads. What we actually want to do is get people in, get them to find the shit that they really care about and want to go off and do, and then put their phone down and go and do it. And so we're thinking about like our model and kind of, is it maybe closer to Google where you're in and out, like lightning quick, and that's where the value lies, is how quick you can come in and out versus how much time you can just spend there, and not necessarily kind of getting to the action or the doing, which is where we see the kind of the uniqueness of the platform and probably the reason people are there to begin with as well. So we want people to stop, slow down, be inspired, find ideas, get off their phones and go do them. So what does this mean for brands? What's the opportunity here? I think we still kind of have a fair bit of explaining to do about who we are, kind of what we're trying to build and how we are different to the rest of the world. But the more we kind of dive in, the more we see like, actually this creates a really unique opportunity for brands and for businesses. And how do we want to start thinking about designing for that and kind of creating for the space? So kind of, can we use this as a place for people to discover possibilities? People come looking for ideas, for inspiration, for things they want to go and do and action in their lives. So is this an opportunity for a brand to come in and help people on that journey? Can we help them to ultimately go and do something with the brand? Like, all advertising is trying to like get someone to go and do something, whether it's to like use the product, to kind of visit a store, to buy it, or whatever. But the fact that people are coming here looking for ideas and inspiration, and that brands can be there to help them, we think there's like a really symbiotic relationship. Like 75% of all the content on the platform comes from brands and businesses and professional content. Again, it's not a place where you're competing with UGC and user-generated content. It's a place where that's what we have. We have a corpus of ideas and content from businesses, from brands. And so how can you kind of take them and inspire them to then go and do something with your brand, I think is the uniqueness of the opportunity and what we're just starting to kind of explore. And no matter what you're into. So yes, we're Pinterest. We didn't necessarily grow up like the other apps, slightly awkward. We kind of, most technology apps grow up on the coasts. We kind of organically grew up through the Midwest and kind of organically through skewing slightly more female. And we have this thing around like Midwestern mums. And it's kind of like, it's true, it's kind of how we grew organically. Like Ben tells a story about how his mum was one of the first like power users on Pinterest, and she was. Probably still is. But we've evolved a hell of a lot in the last few years, and kind of we're now, our growth is coming from international. We're over 175 million monthly actives, and from a really diverse kind of set of audience. And so no matter what it is you're into, people are, yes, they are coming for recipes and kind of how-tos and travel advice and like designing their wardrobe and all these things, but they're also kind of coming and into just some kind of weird stuff as well. They're also into some wonderful stuff. I said we weren't social media, but hey, you still got to love some cute animal pics. And we're into just some downright bizarre stuff as well. I don't quite know what's going on here, but I'll leave it to your imagination. And so like, there's a broad breadth of people coming looking for inspiration and ideas, no matter what the hell they're into. And that's the opportunity to tap in, and whether you're a beans manufacturer or a bath manufacturer, give people like the impetus to like be inspired and go and do something in their lives with these ideas. When I think about it myself, I'm maybe more like a typical use case, I guess, than the kind of bath guy. And I think about how I use the platform for my home. So I've been saving to 3 different boards for quite some time, all around kind of my home and kind of where I live, and finding inspiration. And on your left-hand side, I have a board all around kind of like the grand designs, the dream house. Like one day when I'm rich and famous, I'll go and build this like amazing place. And it's super aspirational and long-term, and it's kind of way off in the future. I have another set of boards, which is kind of maybe more middle term. So this is like around, when I moved from the UK, we were just about to renovate our kitchen, just moved to San Francisco, and what do you know, that the kitchen's the first thing we want to go and do, the first project we wanted to go and do. And I've got a board all around like renovating my kitchen ideas. And like that's something I may want to try and actually go and do in the next 3 to 6 months. And then on the far side, I've got a board which is kind of, I think I called it like shit I want to buy. It's like stuff I want to go and buy, and like it's really immediate. And lots of people are like saving stuff of stuff they want to action like straight away. And so this Vitra chair I kind of found and I saved, and it now sits in my dining room at home. It's like I saw it, I was inspired, and I went out and bought it. And so again, thinking about the opportunity for brands, it's like to play in all those spaces. So it's super aspirational and long term, all the way through to kind of like right now and immediate. How can you inspire people and encourage them to act, encourage them to save your content, and then ultimately go and do something with it, whether that's purchase or whether it's just kind of whatever it is you're there to kind of help people do in their lives. So people are coming looking for ideas, but they don't always have a brand in mind. Like you saw there, I'm coming looking for inspiration, looking for ideas around my house, but I didn't necessarily go looking for that Vitra chair. Like if I knew that's what I wanted, I may have gone somewhere else, like a Google or Amazon, where it's very brand specific. What we find is like there's a lot of search happening on the platform, but it's not yet at that point where you know exactly what it is you're looking for. You're coming looking slightly higher up, slightly like looking for an idea, looking for inspiration. You have a vague notion of what you want. So the opportunity for brands is to be in this space to help guide them to your brand, to your content, versus a competitor's. So this idea of kind of looking for ideas and looking for inspiration is kind of a lot of what we're focused on in terms of building another product. And so most way people search is they'll go and they'll type in some search terms and search criteria, and you can do that on Pinterest. But we think kind of it's such a visual platform, it's such a visual medium, kind of like that's just one mode of finding information and kind of getting a retrieval back. And what we've built is a thing called Lens that we announced fairly recently. So if you go into your Pinterest app now, you'll go into the search bar and you'll see a little camera icon. You tap on the camera and you can point it at anything and take a picture, and we'll bubble back results. And it may be, I'll show you an image. Say you're in your friend's house, you take a picture of this table. Now, it may be that you're looking for, is that exact table? It may be you're looking for the chair, and it's like an Eames chair, or it might be you're just looking for ideas and inspiration. But again, kind of how can we get people in to find the types of ideas that they're looking for in new ways that kind of connect people's phones to the world around them? It's brand new technology that we're just testing and playing with, but provides really exciting opportunities, not only in terms of how people discover the world, how people interact in store, how people kind of interact with maybe print materials we're playing around with a lot, like how can like that transition again from the real world to your phone, how can we kind of help people discover the world around them or discover new ideas visually as well as just through kind of algorithmically what we serve up or kind of what they punch into a text search result. So for brands, like come and inspire people, help people dream, like my aspirational dream house, like a lot of that content is kind of from Architectural Digest or whoever, but like come and help me like map out my dreams and my aspirations. Help me discover, help me take risks, help me try something that I haven't done before. This is a lot of the reason why people are here. And again, it's kind of a unique reason why people are here is to find things that are personal to them that they want to go and do that is different to kind of other social media and starts to kind of move towards, again, the promise of kind of why I got into like the digital world kind of 16, 17 years ago was like actually a tool to help me with my life, not just a means of like mass consumption. So go beyond messaging and be part of people's lives. I think that's the promise that we're talking about. My old boss, our old boss at Facebook used to talk about advertising rather than advertising. Like the potential, the opportunity, the promise of these platforms on our phones is to kind of provide a space which is really human and personal, but the brands can come and add something of real value. And it's not necessarily just an opportunity to just come and bring advertising and just take messages from elsewhere, and it's another line on a media plan, or it's another just opportunity to reach someone's eyeballs and you can just shove messages at them. But come and add something of real value, whether that's entertainment or utility or whatever it might be, but come bring some value. This is an advertising and ideas and creative conference. So being big ideas, like we're kind of really focused on kind of like, I was so inspired by the awards last night, but also like how can kind of a lot of these really big ideas come to life on this platform? And like I say, we don't have all the answers. It's fairly white space right now, but we think there's tons of potential for people to come and to play and to experiment and to break things and to kind of try things and to kind of like, again, based on the insight of why people are here, how can you come and bring ideas that help people do that, but blow them up in a really, really big way. But at the same time, don't kind of necessarily neglect the everyday ideas. I'm going to completely bastardize a quote here. And I can't even remember who said it now, so maybe I won't even try. But the quote was kind of when we're stretching and reaching for the moon, sometimes we lose sight of the flowers blossoming around us. And like, yes, we should be striving for big ideas all the time, but actually a big idea can be an everyday idea that someone takes and does something with, and it plays an important role in their lives. And this opportunity to kind of put things in this platform that people will take and they'll do, and it will make their lives better. And there's a ton of value in that. And kind of, yes, we should stretch for big ideas, but don't necessarily do that in neglect of like a small idea that connects with the right person can play a really valuable role in their lives. So here's some ideas that kind of we've been playing around with using the platform. And again, these are just starting points with brands where we kind of like using the platform, again, creating content natively, again, we kind of know from the work we've done at Pinterest or what we did at Instagram or at Facebook, like people are highly attuned. You're on their phones, they're like, you're in their face. They're highly attuned to kind of content that's been designed for the platform versus an ad that's been taken from elsewhere and kind of slapped in the space. So what we've kind of created as part of our offering is it's called the Pin Collective, and basically we're trying to like identify like the best content creators for the platform that we can then pull in and work with agencies and work with brands to execute work that feels like it's really designed for the platform and understands the platform. So this is some work we did with Whitney Ward for Dunkin' Donuts. Again, it's native. We're using the length of a pin. So a pin, when you see it in your feed, you can tap into it and it expands down. So you have like a kind of quite a unique real estate to play with, a unique canvas to play with. And so here it's kind of like millennially. Is it millennial pink? Is that the thing? Yeah, we're playing with that. But like it feels like it belongs here. It's talking to the audience, but at the same time, it's kind of giving them an idea that they can go and they can take and they can do. And it's fairly straightforward. It's fairly kind of like first steps, but it's something that someone can take and kind of do something with in their lives. Kind of taking that one step further, we did some work with HP. So looking at our insights, we saw that printables were trending 800% up year on year. Like it's becoming a big thing on Pinterest. And we see what people are looking for, what people are saving for, and we see kind of what's trending and bubbling up. Like this is a big thing, this is starting to blow up. And so we worked with HP to create a set of unique artworks that you could tap into with one tap on Pinterest to go and print some of these unique bits of artwork on your HP printer to put up in your children's nursery or in your home, whatever it might be. So we created 100 pieces of brand new bespoke artwork and illustration, working with different artists. And just again, because we knew this is the content people were looking for, let's just put it in front of them, design it in a way that will catch their attention in the feed, but also they can just click through and act upon there and then. This was for Super Bowl, and again, it was based on the insight that during the Super Bowl, you have this big TV screen that everyone's focused on watching, or they maybe are back channeling on their mobile phones. The role Pinterest plays isn't necessarily during that moment in time. It's not necessarily during the game. The role it plays is like in the 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, where people are planning how they're going to have the ultimate viewing party, how they're going to like host people, how they're going to like have ideas to get like to make it the best experience possible. So with that in mind, we created a really simple kind of one-page application, which just asks you a couple of questions. Just ask you like, are you, when it comes to throwing a party, are you a rookie or are you a pro? Kind of what's your style? What sort of party are you looking to achieve? And which team are you supporting? And then you connect it to Pinterest, and then on the fly, we will generate like a board full of ideas on how you can go and have the ultimate party experience, how you can be the kind of the hostess or the host with the most. So we called it the most valuable party planner. It's a really simple idea, but we kind of, again, on the fly, we personalized pins to you based on your identity, so it feels really personalized. All the ideas were kind of either created from the community or through our exclusive partner, Sagento, or ones that we kind of created at Pinterest that we knew would work and based on kind of what we saw coming through the system. And so we generated tens and hundreds of thousands of unique boards for people on how they could go and kind of enjoy the Super Bowl. And it wasn't necessarily that we were competing with that big main event, but like we were playing a role unique to us within that experience. This was some work we did with Valspar paints. And again, it's using the Pinterest API to create a kind of, to add to the experience of buying paint. Buying paint, surprisingly enough, is quite a laborious process. You have to go to the store, you get loads of swatches, you have to go match the swatches. And what we found was actually like Pinterest is a really great place for determining people's color preferences before they need to even go into store. And so you connect with the Pinterest API. You just basically tap to authorize it. We then pull in your home decor content. You go through and select kind of the one that you're into. So you select this pin of a floor. We then match the color reference of the image with the color swatches that they have available. And then you can go and order the swatch, or can you go and order the paint. So a really simple idea, but again, adding value to people's online experience, using our platform in a way that kind of makes sense to kind of enhance the customer experience, enhance kind of why they're there to begin with and what they're trying to do. And so through this, we actually saw that we were able to kind of really optimize the number of paints that they have in their local stores, saving them a significant amount of money in the process because they didn't have to stock everything. They could tell from this kind of what were the popular colors and kind of optimize their in-store inventory against it. And then this is some work we did with Michaels. I was new to Michaels coming from the UK, but I guess people know Michaels, and it's a very Pinteresty brand. It kind of makes a ton of sense, I guess. But again, like, what we knew from the data and from the insights was that shibori printing is massively trending, is massively popular. And so we've now, in a partnership with Michaels, where we're identifying the trends on Pinterest and then helping them create these kits that people can go and buy in store. And so in the kit, you have like all the things you need to make this idea, and then a printed out version of the pin, the idea that kind of came through Pinterest, to go away and make it. So again, it's kind of, it feels safe, but it's kind of adding to the reason why people are here to begin with. People come looking for inspiration. They want to do shibori printing, so let's package it up, make it easy as possible with them. So we're working with retailers in aisles in supermarkets to do the same thing around recipes. Like if we know what recipes people are looking for, let's package stuff up and make it as easy as possible to go and buy it. So ultimately, like, we just want people to kind of bring ideas that people want to save and people want to do. So we kind of talked about hopefully why Pinterest is unique and is different to other platforms. We still have a job to do in explaining that to the world, I feel. There's like, again, quite a job to do. Kind of once you know Pinterest, you get it and you see it and you know the role it plays in your life. That point of difference, I think, opens up really interesting creative opportunities that are different to other platforms and require a slightly different approach, but can play a really interesting role in people's lives and how people are going about and putting their phone down and going and doing stuff. If you can spark that seed of an idea at that moment in time when people are looking for it and on Pinterest and on their phone, then I think there's a really unique opportunity and unique creative space to play with. Like I said, we're just touching the surface in terms of what that looks like, but kind of really excited about kind of the opportunity and the creative opportunity here. I'll just end, probably going to end like 10 minutes early, but that gives you all guys 10 minutes to go look at your screens and like do some of this, or to go find an idea and go do something. And we'll just leave you a video that kind of sums up kind of what I've been talking about in probably 60 seconds.